I was standing in the cleaning aisle a few weeks ago, and I noticed something. Half the shelf I used to shop from was just gone. Not sold out. Gone. Replaced with something else, or nothing at all. If you shop at Dollar Tree or Dollar General regularly, you've probably felt this too, even if you couldn't put your finger on it. Something is changing behind the scenes at these stores, and most shoppers have no idea how big it actually is. Here's the part nobody's really talking about. Dollar General told investors this year on an actual earnings call that it has cut over 1,500 products from its shelves. Not because those products stopped selling, because the company decided fewer options means better margins. That's not a rumor. That's the company's own COO saying it out loud, to Wall Street, not to you. So today, I'm walking you through 11 household essentials that are quietly disappearing, shrinking, or getting swapped out for something worse. Some of these you use every single week, and one of them, around number 6, is going to genuinely surprise you. I won't tell you which one yet. You'll know it when you get there. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe now, because this channel is where I break down the quiet moves big retailers make before most people ever notice. Let's get into it. Item number 1. Paper towels. Paper towels are the easiest place to start, because this one you can literally feel with your hands. The rolls look the same size on the shelf. But sheet counts have been trimmed, and the sheets themselves are often thinner than they were even 2 or 3 years ago. Industry trackers have documented this exact pattern across multiple household paper brands in 2026, not just at dollar stores, but dollar stores feel it more because their margins depend on tight product costs. Retail analysts call this shrinkflation. You pay the same price, but the roll runs out faster, and you don't notice until you're buying twice as often. If you've ever felt like you're restocking paper towels more often than you used to, you're not imagining it. This is a documented industry-wide shift, and dollar stores have been flagged specifically as aggressive adopters of it. Here's what to actually do. Stop comparing price per roll and start comparing sheet count and total square footage on the label. That number tells you the real story. Buy the brand with the best square footage per dollar, not the one that looks biggest on the shelf. This one seems small, but small leaks add up fast over a year. You don't want to be the person still comparing rolls the old way while everyone else has already adjusted. Item number 2. Store brand dish. Soap dish soap is one of those things you grab without thinking. That's exactly why it's worth paying attention to. Dollar store private label cleaning products have expanded a lot over the last few years, partly because they're cheaper for the store to stock than name brands. But as chains trim their overall SKU count, some of those private label formulas have been quietly reformulated or replaced with new packaging and different concentrations. Consumer product experts have pointed out that dollar store cleaning basics like dish soap and degreasers can perform just as well as name brands, but only the specific formulas that have been vetted. Not every version on the shelf is the same one that earned that reputation. I've watched people online compare bottles from a year ago to what's on shelves now, and the fill lines and concentration ratios aren't always identical, even when the label looks nearly the same. The takeaway here is simple. Don't assume the bottle you always grab is the same product it was last year. Check the ingredients list and the fluid ounces every few months. If it's changed, it's fine to switch brands. Loyalty to a label costs you nothing to break. This is about staying a step ahead instead of assuming nothing changes just because the shelf looks the same. Item number 3. Seasonal storage bins. This one hits differently because it's not about running out of a product. It's about a category disappearing entirely from some locations. As part of the broader SKU cuts across dollar store chains, bulkier, lower-margin items like storage bins and organizational plastics have been some of the first casualties. They take up shelf space, they don't move fast, and they don't fit the smaller format stores these chains have been leaning into. Retail reporting this year has been clear that dollar chains are prioritizing high-turn, low-footprint products over big plastic goods. Storage bins are exactly the kind of item that gets quietly deprioritized in that math. I've seen shoppers post about driving to 2 or 3 different locations just to find the same bin they used to grab at their regular store. That's a sign of a category getting thinned out, not just restocked slowly. If you rely on dollar store bins for organizing closets, garages, or holiday decorations, this is the moment to stock up before your size and style disappears completely. Buy a few extra now, rather than hunting for them later. This is one of those things you don't think about until the one time you actually need it and it's not there. Item number 4. Basic first aid supplies. Bandages, gauze, antiseptic wipes. Small, cheap, and easy to overlook until you actually need one. As part of the broader inventory tightening happening at these chains, first aid basics are a category that often gets reduced to just 1 or 2 SKUs per type instead of several options. When a store cuts choices down to the bare minimum, it usually means the category as a whole is being deprioritized, which raises the risk of it thinning out further over time. This matters more than most people think, because first aid supplies are exactly the kind of thing you don't shop for in advance. You go looking for them the moment you need them, which is the worst possible time to find an empty shelf. Keep a small stock at home instead of relying on a same-day dollar store run. A basic supply of bandages and antiseptic doesn't expire quickly, and it costs almost nothing to have on hand. This is one of those quiet safety net items. You don't want to be the person searching 3 stores for gauze because the one nearest you cut the category down. Item number 5. Laundry detergent. Pods and sheets detergent has been one of the most visibly shrinking categories across all retail, not just dollar stores, and pod counts are where it shows up first. Package counts on pods and sheets have been trimmed across major brands this year, according to Shrinkflation tracking that's followed household staples specifically. The box looks similar. The count inside is often lower. This matters at dollar stores in particular because shoppers there are often buying smaller formats to begin with, which means a small count reduction represents a bigger percentage hit relative to what you're used to getting. Check the load count printed on the package, not just the size of the box. If the number has dropped since your last purchase, you're paying more per load even though the shelf price looks unchanged. Buying a slightly larger format less often, even at a dollar store, usually works out cheaper per load than grabbing the smallest option every week. Do the math once, and you'll know which size actually saves you money going forward. Item number 6. Name brand batteries. All right, here it is. The one I told you about at the start. Batteries. You wouldn't think a battery aisle would be part of a bigger story, but it is. And it's one of the clearest examples of what's actually happening across these stores. As chains cut lower margin SKUs to protect their profit numbers, name brand batteries have been one of the categories quietly shrinking in variety. You'll still find batteries, but the selection of sizes and brand options at a lot of locations has narrowed noticeably compared to a couple years ago. Multi-packs that used to sit next to smaller packs are increasingly just one option per size. Here's why this one surprised me more than the others. Batteries are exactly the kind of item people stock up on for emergencies, remotes, kids' toys, smoke detectors. It's not a luxury purchase. It's a household backbone item. And it's exactly the kind of steady, unglamorous product that gets trimmed first when a company is optimizing for margin instead of convenience. If batteries are part of your regular dollar store run, don't assume the size or pack count you always grab will be there next time. Buy a backup multi-pack now and keep it in a drawer. It's cheap insurance against a category that's clearly being narrowed store by store. This is the kind of change you don't notice until the one day your smoke detector starts chirping and the shelf that used to have what you need just doesn't anymore. Item number 7. Off-brand trash bags. Trash bags are another one of those items where the shrinkflation pattern is easy to miss because the box size barely changes. What changes is bag count and bag thickness. Thinner plastic, fewer bags per box, same price point. This has been documented across household staples broadly in 2026, and trash bags specifically get flagged often because thickness reductions are easy for manufacturers to make without changing the box dimensions at all. At dollar stores, where trash bags are often a top seller because of the price point, this matters even more. A thinner bag that tears means you're using 2 bags to do the job of 1, which quietly erases the savings you thought you were getting. Check the mil thickness printed on the box if it's listed, and do a simple durability test with the first bag from a new box before you commit to buying a dozen. If it's noticeably thinner than what you remember, that's your signal to switch. This one's easy to overlook because a trash bag failing feels like bad luck. It's often not bad luck. It's a quiet material change nobody announced. Item number 8. Multi-surface cleaning sprays. Cleaning sprays are one of the categories where private label dollar store versions built a genuinely good reputation. That reputation is part of what's now at risk. As chains lean harder into private label products to protect margins amid SKU cuts, some of those formulas get adjusted over time, sometimes for cost reasons, sometimes for supply reasons. The bottle and label often stay nearly identical, which makes it hard to notice a formula change just by looking at the shelf. Home experts who track dollar store cleaning products have specifically called out certain concentrated, degreasing sprays as standout products worth buying over name brands. That praise is for specific formulas at a specific point in time, not a permanent guarantee that whatever is on the shelf next year will perform the same way. If you've found a cleaning spray you love at a dollar store, don't assume it'll always be exactly what it is today. Keep an eye on the ingredient list, and if performance ever drops off noticeably, that's a sign the formula shifted, not that you're using it wrong. Good dollar store products do exist. The trick is treating today's winner as today's winner, not as a permanent fact. Item number 9. School and office basics. Notebooks, pens, folders, the stuff that flies off shelves every August and then sits quietly the rest of the year. Seasonal, low-margin categories like this are frequently among the first cut when a chain is trimming SKUs for profitability, because the sales window is narrow and the shelf space could otherwise go to something that sells year-round. Reporting on dollar store inventory strategy this year has repeatedly pointed to exactly this kind of seasonal, seldom restocked category as a target for reduction. If you've noticed thinner selection during back-to-school season, or fewer basic options compared to a few years ago, that lines up with the broader pattern of these chains prioritizing steady sellers over seasonal ones. Buy your basics early in the season instead of waiting, and don't expect a mid-season restock the way you might have in past years. If the shelf looks thin in August, it's probably not getting fuller in September. Small planning changes like this save you an unnecessary extra errand later, when the selection is even thinner than it was the first time you looked. Item number 10. Pet supplies. Pet owners, this one's for you, and it's easy to miss if you're not the one buying the supplies every week. Pet care items, like disposable liners, small toys, and treat bags, tend to occupy the same lower margin, lower turn category that's been targeted in the broader SKU reduction trend at these chains. It's not that pet products are being eliminated entirely, but variety within the category has been narrowing at a lot of locations, especially for less common pet sizes or specialty items. If your usual product has become harder to find or seems to come and go inconsistently, that's consistent with a category getting thinned rather than a one-off stocking issue at your specific store. Keep a small buffer of your pet's regular consumables at home, especially for anything that's not a totally standard size or brand. Relying on a same-week restock from the dollar store is riskier than it used to be for anything outside the most common items. This is a quiet one because it affects a routine, not a single purchase. And routines are exactly what break the hardest when a shelf you counted on just isn't reliable anymore. Item number 11. Basic household tools. Screwdrivers, tape measures, small hand tools, the kind of thing you buy once and expect to find again if you ever need a backup. Tools are a classic example of a slow turn category. They don't sell every week, they take up shelf space, and they're exactly the type of product that gets deprioritized when a retailer is optimizing for turnover and margin, which is precisely the strategy these chains have publicly described this year. A cheap hot glue gun or a basic screwdriver might still be on the shelf today, But expert reviews this year have specifically flagged some of these low-cost tool categories as inconsistent in quality and availability. Exactly the kind of signal that a category isn't being prioritized for restocking. If you use dollar store tools for quick fixes or backups, grab what you need now rather than assuming it'll be there next time you look. This is one of the categories most likely to quietly thin out further as these chains keep trimming SKUs through the rest of the year. Basic tools feel replaceable until the one time you need one immediately, and the shelf that used to have it doesn't anymore. Closing. So here's the pattern running through every single one of these 11 items. It's not a rumor, and it's not a conspiracy. It's simple math that these companies have said out loud, on the record, to their own investors. Fewer SKUs, tighter margins, less variety on the shelf. None of this means dollar stores are disappearing or that you should panic. It means the shelf you're used to walking into isn't static anymore. It's being actively reshaped behind the scenes, and most shoppers won't notice until the item they always buy just isn't there one day. Being ahead of that curve isn't about hoarding. It's about knowing which categories are shrinking, checking labels instead of assuming, and picking up a reasonable backup of the things you actually rely on every week. Most people are going to notice this the hard way, standing in an aisle wondering where their usual product went. You don't have to be one of them. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, subscribe, because I'm covering more of these quiet retail shifts before they become common knowledge. Drop a comment with the item on this list that surprised you most. I read everyone. And if you've noticed something changing at your own local store that I didn't mention here, tell me, because that's exactly the kind of insider tip this channel is built on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.